rain. So, child, a new child is a 16-month-old standard poodle hunting dog. We'll see pictures of him. Let's have the next slide. So that's me before I became a teacher. What did I do that? I was doing 80 pounds. In 3 months, I was 24 pounds. Okay? We'll try to stop that growth because I do like this. That's my uncle. My father died when I was 6. My uncle kind of became like a father to me. The reason I'm passionate about women in leadership is I was raised by women. My mother and my sister, my older sister, raised me. You can see a picture of her. Let's have the next slide, please. That's my mother. That's my dad. Let's have the next slide. She's beautiful. She's still alive. She's 90 years old. I'm going to see her when I finish her out Friday with Bangla and see her. That's my sister. She's a famous professor. She's spoken around the world. She's worked for Sony and IBM. She has a PhD in English literature. And she wrote in the book, Chicken Soup for the Indian Teacher's Soul. If you get that book, my sister is in it. She's written 2 chapters. I think she's written a story about me too. So that's my sister. Let's have the next slide, please. That's my new son. My first son is Joshua. My second son is Judah. My third son is Jedediah. And this is the new kid in town. So let's have the next slide, please. So I'm going to teach you something about leadership. Leadership starts with relationships. It's what AI cannot do. AI cannot have a relationship with you. You can have a virtual reality relationship with some beautiful looking woman AI. But you can't have a real relationship. You can't go there and do chat or chat or whatever you do. Relationship starts with leadership. Now, dogs evolve from what? From what I know. Wolves are the greatest study for leadership. Because wolves work in packs. Right? I thought of choosing lions because I saw last night I watched Lion King on the plane. Again, I love that movie. It's a good movie. Little Simba. Lions have many wives, and I don't have many wives. Only one wife. So one is good. It's a lot of maintenance, a lot of do-the-card power, right? So I have a relationship with my dog, and in the rich community, so the people are nice from them, and it's a female. It's everyone. But they work together as a team, bring their animals. You can't reproduce. 5 or 6 days, we kill a moose, but the wolves are 120 pounds. The moose is 1,200 pounds. The moose, or 6 years, was that down. We're not the wolves. But anyway, dogs are basically domesticated wolves. So they look for an alpha. And so the home, it seems this, yes, sir, what can I do for you today? It's the same thing in leadership, right? People ask me, how do you raise your boys? When I was young, I used to train dogs. When people had a dangerous dog, they sent me. Biting everyone, I trained to be kind. So I always did that. So I said the same way train dogs, and they train children. People say, how are you? We used to try to a dog. I said, dogs are very intelligent animals. Like this kind of breed is the second most intelligent dog in the world. A standard breed. The first one is the border collie. They look at the sheep. So leadership is all about relationships, which is what we're going to talk about. And if you get relationships, the powerful leader. Leadership is not about smarts. It's not really knowing how to do math. It's useful to do math, right? Stuff that we do. Because we're smart. So, relationships. So I have a relationship with my dog. And we do it everywhere. We do restaurants together. So for New Year, we go for a fun. So let's have the next slide. That's him for the birthday. We look after him. Let's have the next slide. So, what we want to do is unlock your career potential, discover your purpose, discover your strengths, and we want to make shift happen in your life, right? Shift, move. We want to move in your life. Static. If you're static, you choose your own life. You have your own compass. So Let's have the next slide on, please. So, how many of you will say, in 10 years, I know what I want to be? So, so talents. How many of you think you're talented? You're gifted. You're teachers, all people, you're all gifted. You're gifted just like her. You're unique and the whole energy in the world. So make sure that you know this gifted as well. Okay? So you need to find out what you love and what you're good at is what you do. So I don't know, in my life, I think every thing that terrible things happen in my life. I will tell you all about them. Father, my 1 is 6. All of that worked out so good for my life, but I'm there. And I can do it. So I like to do this. So, for example, let's say you're 5 feet tall and you want to be a really famous basketball player. Then you want. So, you're all talented. Say, I'm talented. You start having some goals. You're ready to unlock your full potential. So, yes, full potential. So, there's a roadmap to meaningful career success, which is leadership. Basically, how do you want to grow in your organization? Grow, whatever you grow, you want to be a professional, you want to grow. To grow, you have to master relationships. But before you master relationships, you master yourself. Mastering yourself is the path to being a leader, to create leadership. Let's have the next slide, please. The formula for transformation, talked about it briefly. By the way, if I go too fast and I need to repeat myself, let's put your hand up. What I teach, and I was going to say about Sushil, we met at a restaurant, first meeting. I thought, I'm going to take this young man. I'm going to take him to do the family. And the first student that we took, Dr. Phil and I came to India. I told Dr. Phil, I want to take a student from here in India and show them what we can do at home. And I made a commitment to be with Sushil and see him close to mine. But when he graduated, he's probably on both levels. His family couldn't do it. So I was moved. I felt like I was with my sons, and so I went there. You know what I didn't know was he won the highest award there in his master's program. I was crazy proud. I said, great. But I didn't stop there. I then went home to do my standing for 3 days in the soup. We went together. I was in the restaurant and talking with someone, but they're going to look at me and going to help me do it. So I'm here and I'm there with them. Now, because leadership is about relationships. And the more good relationships you have, the more powerful you can be. Anyway, you have bigger brains than men. Say with me, women have bigger brains than men. It's a scientific fact. Men have a smaller brain, but they have no folds, which is why men wind up in sciences and some other things, And we're different. We're different. And both men and women are important for society. You can't have just women. You can't just have men. If you have only men, you have women all the time. That's why we need women in leadership so that we won't have Russia, Ukraine, and all the stuff we have in the nations because women are not in charge. If women are in charge, let's sit down at the table, let's talk. Let's make friends. Right? Because women are willing to run community. Civilization because of women. Hunting and killing all the time. And they're willing to look after the children. So women are make sure emotional intelligence. That's why when you go to school, how many of you go to school? That's the goes. People. We're sitting around and talking. That's right. They go to watching together. They hang out together. They do everything together. The future of the world is community. You see, I'm a big fan of women. So my sister was talking about these things. So let's talk about So let's have the next slide. I need to have a clicker. So I want to help you understand, just scratch the surface of your strengths and how to use them. I'm going to show you a roadmap. You know, when you want to find your way to somewhere, you need a roadmap. So I'm going to talk to you about a roadmap. And then finally, some tools and insights to help you thrive in your professional journey. You're here in school for the purpose. You're not here in school because, oh, I love to go to class and study and listen to my teacher. I'm sure your teachers are very exciting. And, you know, just get up in the morning and say, wow, my teacher is so amazing. I'm going to sit in front and listen to them. Your teachers know that? That's all about. Don't say anything, they're watching you. So we won't say anything about that. Let's have the next slide. Am I going too fast? Okay. So I'm going to talk to you about coach. Leadership and coaching experience, and I'm the founder of an organization or a company called the Jonathan Factor. Okay? So you can go online, you can do what I'm talking, don't get distracted, and you can go to my website. And on my website, I have a gift for all of you. So you go on my website, and you go to home, you have testimonies of people all over the world, people who changing people's lives. So to ask you, yes. So go to my website, I have a free gift for you. The best leadership psychometric assessment. It's on my site, it's a gift to you. Okay? We have a YouTube video that is going to show that how we're getting this psychometric assessment, but I'm going to tell you about this. I was going to a conference, and with a friend of mine, and he was a good friend of mine, but he told me something that just shattered my heart. I was applying for a job in an organization. He said, I don't think you're a good fit for it because I don't think you're a good speaker in public. I was shocked. I spoke for 5,000, 10,000 people. I'm glad somebody useless, but I'm very good at that. Plus, one of my mentors. He said, you're looking sad. I said, well, my friend. He said, what does he know? He's an accountant. What do accountants know? A public speaker. He said, I know you. He says, are you scared of finding out who you really are? I said, I'm not scared. I came to Canada with $20 in my pocket. Most Indian students are way ahead than me. Most Indian students come with thousands of dollars in my pocket. I came with $20 in my pocket. 10 for my wife, 10 for me. At that time, the government of India didn't allow me to take that much money. I only took $20 in my pocket. So, I wrote a check for $500 to pay for this assessment that I invited you to do. As a progress, you'll get to do it. It's 198 questions and the instructions on how to do it. As soon as you finish it, it will give you a short insight, a summary of your greatness, your greatness, your greatness, your greatness, my greatness, Sushil's greatness, his greatness. So every student here can do it. Mess the survey up. The survey is very powerful. It'll handle it. So 5,000 people can do it at the same time, no problem. And it's not even available in Hindi or Tamil, but I know it's available in other languages, including Korean and things like that. So it's the most premier psychometric assessment I'm going to talk about. When I came to start to teach at Trinity, I got a call one day. And by the way, people call me doctor. I don't have a doctor. You guys who don't have a doctor teachers. Most of the people are doctors. They don't have experience they have in life. So I go to teach. Students excited about what I'm teaching. Right? Because I tell the students, if you're not excited by the time you go to class, you're failed as a teacher. When you finish a class, most of you are packing your books 10 minutes before the class is over, right? When I'm teaching, no one should pack their books. They say, why are you so good? That's what I wonder how to do. Because when you stand up to teach, you're ready to change the world. Whatever you do in life, whether you want to be a doctor, engineer, dentist, or you want to be a truck driver, or a garbage truck driver, or a mechanic, doesn't matter. You have to live with excellence. My sons came to me. One of them was a gifted child, and said, and where do you want to do his dad? What do people think? I said, who cares what other people think? He said, I care what you think. I said, don't tell your grandmother. Do what you want. Right? If you keep jobs for people, don't just let go. That's what you think. Because what? When you put some money, you're not worried about people's trust, but also worried about people who have that gift. And so you have doctors who kill people because they're not supposed to be doctors. So for me, it's very, very important. So let's have the next slide, please. I'm going to go as fast as possible because of the time. Is Sushil here? He's gone. He's gone out. Sushil, when I want to start, you look the time out and I stop, okay? Okay. So let's have the start. I'm going to say. So to help you, if you get there and do this assessment, it's 298 questions. So don't do it today. Don't do it tomorrow. Sunday, when exams are over and you don't have anything to do, get up on Saturday morning and you're young and it's not what you can do. Do it on that day. It'll take you half an hour. In fact, Sushil is going to tell you how we're going to use that for our next session. We're going to have another session together. Most of you might not come because this guy is too excited about the subject, so you might not want to come. But assess you first. Then we want you to reflect on one of the three big questions. I'm going to tell you those three big questions today. I'm going to tell you the secrets of living. And then I'm going to help you then to help align you to get additional thrive. We are meant to thrive. Everyone of you is meant to thrive, and you can. If you ask me to come from Trinity, I took the longest time to do a master's degree. How many of you are doing a master's degree here? Okay. Master's degree. Years. Since I'm not very smart, how many of you think I took to do my master's degree? 7 years. 7 years, anyone else? I hold the record. I took 10 years to do my master's degree. That's how dumb I am. Actually, it's because I had a full-time job and I did a lot of things. Finally, and I didn't have much money because our university is an expensive university, one of the best universities in Canada because we don't get government grants. We pay for our own fees, right? In life, if you want a car that breaks down, buy a cheap car. If you want a car that doesn't break down, buy a Lexus or a BMW. Because a BMW and Lexus among education in Canada. You can't compare people want to hire you. So I did 10 years to get my master's. There are people who know that the day that I graduated the highest award in Canada, which is the government general's gold medal, which was given to us by the crown, by the queen. So I had a from the government general who was a woman. And I was like, God, I didn't graduate 5 years ago because from Michelle. She was a woman from Haiti. She was a minority. So I'm very, very happy with that. What happened was, I had three works of training, helping students, helping staff. My first client was the bookstore manager of Trinity. Coached me, he asked me, he says, can I pay you to have coffee with me? And I talk to you. He said, no. I can't get you to have coffee, you're busy. You can't have coffee with me. I said, okay. So I started charging $250 an hour to have coffee with me. That's a lot of money. He happily did it. And he said, he's the magician, he's playing down. He said, and he moved on, he doesn't, well, he's got a big job somewhere else. So he's a business manager somewhere else. But he told me one day, I didn't know my girl's name. I booked the car, he said, oh, would you have a pizza to me? I said, why did you have a pizza? I took 10 years to get my master's degree. So, 10 years, don't you need to have a PhD teaching the class? Some of the she was laughing. She says, no, not every PhD is smart. PhDs are very smart, but they're usually for teaching. They have a lot of knowledge, but they're not masters of teaching. When a master of teaching, come and teach. So I said, here's the deal. I'll come and teach for free. He said, how many classes do you have? I said, listen, I don't have time. On a Friday night for 3 hours, on a Saturday, I'll teach continuously. Oh my goodness, one person for like 9 hours or 10 hours. That'd be crazy. Can you imagine being stuck in a room with the same professors? By the time I finished, I told them, don't for me. Side and one to join. She doesn't work for 20. She said, where were you all these years? So since then, I've been teaching free. Right? So I have a passion for this. I don't do this because of the money. It's me training. I don't have a testimony. The status of money. Put that aside. That's important. You should love and be student. And the status will follow. My family had, I went to Canada with $10 in my pocket, but I'm not stopping from being excellent over over. You can do what I mean. You can do with Jonathan. I'm trying to do this. Which Jonathan I can do? So, something I for them. That's how you should live. You should live as if this is the last day. Focus on the class. Put in the time. Take the time. Take the effort. You're not competing against anyone. You're not trying to be better than the person next to you. You're trying to be better than people around you. It's a Jewish story. Story of a rabbi, like a teacher or a pastor or a priest. What do you do? To heaven, and God asked him, what do you do in your life? Said this at the end of it. You know, in Jewish history, Moses is very famous because in history, he is the first lawgiver. He said that God will not ask you why you are not like Moses. God will ask you why you are not like Judah. His name was Judah. God will ask you why you self. Self. It's taken. That's not my quote. That's Oscar Wilde. If you study literature, you know who he is. Oscar Wilde said, self. It's taken. Yes. Yes. Okay. So I do this in 5 minutes. The assessment is yeah. The Birkman assessment is 298 questions. So only with a link, instructions. You answer them. You take how long to do it. It's not a test. It's an assessment. It's hearing what you think about yourself. So I'll ask you these questions, and out of that will come some answers. It measures 4 areas in your life. The first one is what you're interested in. So, for example, the Birkman, when I first did it, and my mentor wrote a $500 check for me to do my Birkman. It had taken 10 years to do my master's degree. 2 years. The consultant who came to spend $100 to his side, the $500 from my own. At the end of the month, so I did every bit of it. I became friends with Dr. Birkman. When I won the governor's grade, I threw the chief to him. And said, this is yours. He said, I can't give that to him. I said, because of you. And see what I'm going to do. In fact, before he died, he told me, he says, I want you to stay in the Birkman company and mentor and help my daughters. And they wrote a book on the Birkman method. So one guy was in the book, and in the book, because I coached his daughter, and I encouraged her in writing the book. So there's a book called the Birkman method. At that point of time, settled on Amazon on the business book list. And the Birkman assessment is so important that Harvard Business School is the Birkman. Trinity Western University is, I think, the only university in Canada that uses the Birkman like we do. They asked me to architect it. So I architected it for the undergraduate, for the shift level. And you do it. From Trinity, the government. The region that look at the button. And so it would be for free. How's that? And when you decide to come to Trinity, it's still Birkman. You're going to have 52 pages of information about you. It's amazing. It's in my life, it's in the life of my family, it's in the life of my kids. My kids are doing what they love. My wife is doing what she loves. And my wife and myself have a fantastic relationship with emotional intelligence because we know each other well from the assessment. Because the women I've been with for so many years, but women send my wife better. So the book is very powerful. So it teaches you what your interests are. There are 10 interests there. Some of them are technical interests. Some of them are art interests. Some of them are literary interests. Some of them are interests in people. So how many of you say I'm a people person? How many of you say I'm not a people person? And I say that those are all gifts. There's no one standard size that fits everybody. Everyone's different. People who are quiet and introverted are very smart. They're watching you. They're listening. Okay? Now, what is like that? It's better with a good team. So interest. The second thing is, what is your usual behavior? In psychology, we call it your socialized behavior. Right? So my socialized behavior, I'm very animated and good. I look people. I like people think, oh, this people I'm not. I'm not good. The difference is to be alone without anybody. A lot of people sometimes in my life do this. When I go there, shut off my phone, shut off everything, take my journal. I carry a journal with me and everywhere. Then, the good food, only water, it stays for 7 days, 15 days, food, only water. But I'm happy to be alone. I don't need people. Socialize with everyone. The first way is to be alone. With a book, that's called your so you come here, so you will reach some of your first behavior. That's sad, stupid things. Just something proud to do whatever. Who else have those things? I try to fix the cat behavior. Yeah, everybody fix the cat. Why? Because you're stressed. Some of you get upset, you get quiet. You get quiet and says, because you don't get out, shout and scream. What is that? It's telling you how you react under stress. So for the very instrument, the Birkman is a really pilot who got the German, but he fought against the Germans. And he fought against Shutdown, and he went on to do a PhD in Psychometric. And famous assessment. And then he was really embarrassed. And John, that was helping people to fix it. When you want to, when you do the program, it's too well for a shift. So the doctor, especially the time, especially the from together, that a guns were living I don't know, it's the one around and doing the times. So, that's the first time. Let's give my hand. So for let's between Trinity and prayer, Canada, here, have foodies. So all the food restaurants and lower mainland, we will do that already. Maybe down food, Korean food, we cook too. You know, we go there like a good one, cook too. So we cook and we do fun things together. So we're friends, we're family, we're next to picture some gifts I don't have. So rely on him. There you go, Sushil. Thank you.
Let's give it up for Professor Jonathan Michael. Thank you. So as it's great to be here. It's a privilege to be here for our 10th annual conference. I've had the privilege of doing this for a number of years, almost 7 since I joined Trinity Western. But Dr. Jonathan, Professor Jonathan, or prophetically declared Jonathan, with Ed has been having a partnership for almost 10 years. So even before I even came to Trinity Western, where they had recruited me in about 2000, same time this year, they've been having this long-standing partnership. So anyway, I'm going to quickly dive into our conversation, just building off the great platform that Professor Jonathan has given us. Before I do that, I just want you guys to know, and as you realize, especially for our Zoom audience, that we have a tireless team actually working behind just to make this happen and as seamless as possible. There's our very own tech team who've been with us since yesterday, so I think they need a round of applause. Let's just give it to them. Give it up for them. Yeah. Awesome. So I'm just going to start quickly, just building off, as I mentioned, from the conversation Dr. Jonathan had given us. And one of the things we work with as part of my role as a facilitator in the leadership program is working with our professors and creating these workshops for you guys, where we give you these learning activities. So the learning activities are based on the content that's offered. In the interest of time, we won't be able to get into the conversation. And also in terms of your seating arrangement, it might not facilitate that. But I want to leave you guys with 3 questions. And these questions actually can be used for you to actually start your own leadership journey. So I guess, how many of you here are closer to finishing your undergrad? All of you, right? So what, like final year, your program? That's great. So obviously you're thinking about now where you're going to study, what are you going to do, what kind of career you're going to get into, with all the things that are changing in the economy in this new digital era. So I think one of the things that we like to do in part of our purpose-driven workshop, building off psychometric analysis and data to guide your, decision-making is, well, we're going to use the questions for that, but essentially you are going to use a psychometric test as well. So in the interest of time, you won't have to do it here, but I'd like to encourage you to finish it up and send us the results, because we can have a follow-up to that. But in the meantime, I want you guys to now have an activity, and if you can just help me with the slides, just want to move into the questions. And it's a very simple activity. I want you guys to just reflect on these questions. So maybe you can just take me to the first slide, because I want to just show you a couple of the objectives of our workshop, just for you to keep it in mind. So this is tweaked from a design thinking workshop that I've had in the past that I ran in Pune a couple of weeks back. And once it just clears up. So as Jonathan mentioned, we're looking at basically helping you build the self-reflective practices. And in terms of your own leadership journey, you must be, right now having some influential, factors. Maybe it's your parents, the social structure that you're part of, or even like your past generations, you have doctors in the family and so on and so forth. But some of you also might be wondering, okay, what if there's something more? What if I don't want to do this? Or what if I want to be a musician or something else and get away from the science? Now, we don't want to distract you because you're already finishing your program. So let's keep that focus. But as you're finishing, we would love to connect with you and just have that opportunity to understand actually what are your true passions? Where do you want to get into? And these are some of the questions that, as we get into the questions, I want to help you guys build your self-reflective practices. So, strengthen your building a creative intelligence is one of the things that your Birkman will also help you with. So we can move to the next slide. And let's start off with the first question, which is based on identifying positive motivators or inhibitors, right? So what are those things that are coming in the way, for example, that could be influencing your decision making? Like, what are some of those things? So I want you guys to just simply take out your phones if you don't have your laptops or paper, and you'll find your notepads in that, right? You could just have your notes. And I want you guys to self-reflect. So let's just take about 2 to 3 minutes and just self-reflect on these questions here. So this is the first part of it, and this is also another question here. We'll start with the first one, which is what aspects of your career, education, or life decisions were influenced by societal norms, the nature of education offerings, for example, or compromises you felt you had to make to fit into these norms? Did these meet your goals, expectations? Were these something was set by someone else of influence in your life or even the social structures you're part of? And start reflecting on this. This is for you. So we're not going to get you to broadcast this publicly, but I just want you guys to just kickstart into some of these activities that we do. And then we'll get into the other questions later on. In the interest of time, I'm definitely not going to get to hear from most of you. So it's just a very private thing. We respect your own privacy. So you can just spend some time on that, and then I'll connect back to you in 2 minutes. Okay. One of the things you can add on while you're at it is you can also, if money and time was also a barrier, right? Or rather, if it was not a barrier, what would that look like for you? So just reflect on this and I'll connect back with you. Thank you. Thanks. Now, as you guys are pondering or reflecting this question, you must be wondering, does this even apply in the real world? Right? Like, how can I sideline time? How can I sideline money? It's an integral part of what I do. And honestly, when I was asked to also suggest this question, I was challenged by this whole notion because my job description is basically to keep time as a project manager. And I remember what I was before my project management career. I come from a creative background. So I did my undergrad in industrial design and then got a job in the IT of all places, in project management of all careers or jobs. And that has impacted me personally as much as professionally. It has its advantages, but I can be honest. I mean, I'll try to be as honest as I can. But that the job itself has also created inhibitors in terms of my own creativity. And we all have that framework to work within. It's part of life. Like I have to wear a different hat now because I'm coming from the tech side, and there's an aspect of keeping to time. So I'm always time bound, but it does have its impact. So when I want to be creative, I have to now develop the behaviors or the coping mechanisms to switch off from my time bound framework and then let the creativity flow. So that's something that I had to hack myself. When Jonathan gave me this question and we were discussing planning this workshop, my reaction was like, as I'm watching some of you, I was like, what's the point of this question, right? So that's one of the powers of self-reflection that, before I can even give it to you, it's something that I had to grapple with. And, that's part of being the lifelong learner that we at Trinity, we advocate. You posture always as students, no matter what stage in life you are, there's always opportunities to learn. So for you as well, these self-reflective practices, you're taking it to yourself. You're not sharing so much. And you might have the right platform to share it. And you could exercise that vulnerability as you so choose based on how much it benefits the others. How do you leverage that for your own personal development and your own personal leadership? So keeping that in mind as a baseline, I want you to take this back home. We won't have time to discuss it, but you can go back home and work on that. You could write, you want to write a paragraph, you can write an essay on it, it's fine. And if you want to share it with us, you're more than welcome to share it with Professor Jonathan. I'm sure he'd love to go through that and actually guide you through the Birkman as he goes more. He's got a lot to offer. He just, because in the interest of time, and he just arrived last night. But had we gone more deep in the Birkman, yeah, it probably definitely would have been on a whole new level. But I'm hoping this sets the baseline for the next part, and we'd love to have you for the second sequel of this workshop. And so it's free of cost, so there's no charge for you because it's teleMARS, and it's our partnership with Trinity Western. So I'll have all your emails written down, and maybe what we can do is we'll go to the next slide if we can, please. Jonathan, you want to throw in something there? Yeah, I'll pass it back to you. Yeah. Let me have the second slide. Yeah. So this one is more. It's building very similar to the principles of the first two questions that you were asked, and what would be. So I would like you guys to think on the lines of your dream job, as we just talked about career now. So you can use some of the concepts that we touched on as you are framing now in this season of moving to your master's degree or your PhD or whatever it might be. This might be a great time for you to take and spend some time reflecting on that, because right now you must be applying for a program based on the existing programs that are there. And that itself can be a box for you, because what happens then is that it limits you in terms of your career. So by the time you finish graduating, you finish your master's and you start working, you're going to have a box. So you just have project manager, so there's different frameworks that are already existing based on the HR portal that you have. But the question I have to ask you is, why don't you frame your own job? If you were in charge of your own boss, or in charge of your own life, and that's part of this whole design thinking or designing your own life principles that we're trying to inculcate in our workshop, is how do you frame? And Jonathan used to ask me that if you were your own, I actually have to give the right references and the credit due to him for that. Is when he was mentoring me, he would ask me, if you were in charge of your life, what would you want to do? How would you frame your own title? And that's something that he's kind of turned me loose, and it's actually helped me a lot. Not to say I could go to any organization and just write my own title, but at the same time, you are informing the people you work with what you are. So when you start applying for jobs and they tell me about yourself, it's cookie cutter, because you're actually limiting it to the existing job that you're applying for. So you're actually kind of manipulating or working the system that's already in place. So what I'd like you to say is like, how can you picture yourself talking to your HR or headhunter or someone who's recruiting you and giving them or informing them exactly who you are and what you could do in the organization? Because that itself can influence your boss to even create something unique to you. And that's why the Birkman is so powerful, because it actually has that data that can actually be applied at that time, which we can, like I mentioned, go more deeper into. So just some parting questions for you to reflect on. I can send you the slides later also, because in the interest of time, we want to let you go. I know Pongal celebration is there and there's good food waiting for all of you. So that's one question. Hopefully you have that. And can we go to the last slide? I just want you to reflect on the final one, which is our takeaways. We would love to hear from you. So the one that's, I think, blocking me is, blocking the question is, what are the most significant insights or reflections you have gained from this workshop? And how will you apply these to shape your career and personal development? So I'll open it up for you to share. And at the same time, I'll let Professor Jonathan come. Thank you all for your time. It's been a privilege. All the best.
I'm not doing my job, and I think it's going well and reaching another beginning. Thank you, Sushil. Things that most of us don't see. Tell people say you're gifted, you play the guitar with dancing. I have one gift. God has given me a gift to see talent in people they don't see. I see someone like you, someone like you, someone like you, and I see the talent, the potential, like a nuclear bomb. And I remember seeing Sushil, he's kind of deciding what he's going to do on the path. Chris is a talented young man. I want to see him. And to me, I was talking, I said, he should teach my class. I should retire. And I'm 60 years old. I'm an old guy. So my son is 35, and my kids are older than most of you. So I'm an old guy. But I want to finish with this, and I want to, if we can pull up slide 63. Slide 63. I'm going to close up with this. I'm sure you were bored to death by me, so you won't come back for my next session, but that's all right. I just take a holiday or something like that, okay? So let's just have slide 63. And I'll tell you a story. Once upon a time, there was another student. She's giving me permission to talk about her. She's calling Alice. I think she's watching right now. Her name is Jennifer. She's a good mother from Kerala who lived in Bangalore. And she did her master's in leadership, but she's a dentist. She's an outstanding dentist. What is a dentist doing arts? So she came to Trinity, and about the first day of Trinity, she thought, I'm mad. I'm a government job in India. I'm a dentist. I'm in healthcare. And I'm doing this silly course and spending money. I said, I'm trying to escape India or whatever. She says, and she went to Dion Adams. What's Dion Adams' position at Trinity now? Director of faculty. So she went to her and said, I don't want to do my master's. She just come. She told this, I want to do my master's. Dion said, let me ask you one thing. You cannot do your master's. But can I ask you one thing? There's a guy who doesn't teach at Langley, usually teaches at Richmond, which is our other campus. He's coming to teach this class in evenings. I never take evening classes. It's too much. I want to hang out with my wife and things like that. So he's taking an evening class. Why don't you come for one class by him? One class. 12 sessions. Come for one class and then decide what you're going to do. She came for my first class. She has very light eyes, like Aishwarya Rai. Her eyes are like that. She was stunned. She was like, that's an interesting person. Where did they come from? And she was very enthusiastic in class. And she told me I was a dentist. I said, good. She came back to class every day. In fact, she wound up in class with Sushil and myself. She graduated. She's now finding a path role. And she's become like a daughter to my wife and me. She comes to our home and hangs out and things like that. But her life has made shift. And I sat with her last week at a little coffee house and went through her Birkman with her. She did her Birkman a year ago, but she wants to learn more. So there's a lot of things that can transform in a person's life over the long haul. And I really mean that. Sushil knows this. and deeply committed to people. Okay, people, decide whether I have time for you. Decide whether I have time for you. Don't decide. So, no, he's a professor, he's busy, why would he? Let me decide. She knows that. So there are three big questions, and we'll leave it at that, and we're going to do a workshop on this. So here are the three big questions. Let's have the next slide. What is your purpose? My purpose. My purpose is to be an amazing gift of inspiring voice and extraordinary presence. I hope I do that today. That tomorrow can say we have an amazing gift of inspiring voice and extraordinary presence. That's my purpose. My mission is to teach, inspire, mentor, and empower learners and leaders to be amazing, extraordinary, and inspiring in their life, in their work, in their relationships. So what is your purpose is the question you have to answer. Next slide. What is your mission? I make sure it was not men climbing a mountain, women can climb mountains. They're the women who are climbing. Some of the best rock climbers in the world are women because they're lighter and they're smaller. So what is your mission? What are you planning to do? What do you want to plan to do for the rest of your life? What is your passion? It's not a job. Career is very different from a job. A job is earn money, eat some food. A career is a lifetime passion, something that when you're dead, the life legacy lives on. When I'm dead, what I do, I talk to one of my clients. If when I'm dead, I want 10,000 people to come to my funeral and fight with each other. Take the mic and say, this man changed my life. It's my goal. We're not going to live forever, but when we're dead, the life even though we're dead, the life is still speaking. It's my goal. That is the vision. Let's have the next slide. There's the vision. What do you see for yourself in the future? Don't settle. You know, OnePlus, you know the phone OnePlus? The tagline was don't settle. Don't settle. Don't let anyone tell you what women can do and what women can't do. You decide. You do the change you want to see in the world. That's a Gandhi quote, I think. Possible. There's a mission for your life. You know what's the mission? To take the mission. This mission will destroy. It's taken. Thanks. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon. It's my honor and privilege to extend a heartfelt thanks to our very motivating, enthusiastic speaker, Mr. Jonathan Michael, a sessional instructor and international engagement partnership ambassador for India at Trinity Western University, for sharing his valuable insights. He was not just informative, but also highly inspiring. You have a unique ability to connect with the audience, and thank you so much for bringing the child in all of us, sir. And I extend my heartfelt gratitude to Mr. Sushil Rajaratnam, Project Director at Trinity Western University, for your valuable time with us, sir. We really enjoyed this session, and thank you very much. Thank you so all for making this event a big success. Thank you. As we near the end of day 2, I would like to take this opportunity to thank all of our speakers and attendees for their participation today. We would like to express our gratitude to our sponsors and partners for their support in making this event possible. Don't forget to join us tomorrow for day 3, where we will hear more from thought leaders and experts in the field. Thank you once again, everyone, for being a part of this conference. We look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Have a great day.